There's an uncomfortable truth that almost no one dares to say. Attraction doesn't stem from love, it stems from power. And the more you try to please, justify, and prove yourself, the more invisible you become. The female mind, as Machiavelli would say, doesn't respond to good intentions. It responds to the silent force of someone who understands politics guided by reality, not ideals. While most men get lost trying to be the nice guy, the strategist observes, waits, and acts with precision. He knows that the end justifies the means, and that true dominance lies not in controlling the other, but in creating the atmosphere where the other surrenders willingly. It's a subtle game, psychological, instinctive, and ancestral. Seduction at this level isn't about charm, it's about psychology applied to emotion. Machiavelli would teach that it's better to be feared than loved, if love leads to a loss of respect. And this rule translates perfectly to the field of relationships. The man who masters desire isn't the one who speaks most beautifully, but the one who evokes contrast. He is presence and absence, attention and silence, warmth and mystery. He becomes scarce in a world lacking validation. When a woman feels she can't predict you, she doesn't just think about you, she becomes emotionally fixated, and that's where the Machiavellian power of seduction begins. When you understand that the human brain is programmed to desire what it doesn't fully possess. This video isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding true human nature, the same nature Machiavelli studied to understand kings, armies, and empires. Here, you'll discover the 7 secret tactics that make any woman obey without realizing it. These are principles based on virtù and fortuna, constant adaptability, and the calculated use of emotional force. And if you apply what you're about to learn, you'll realize something curious. The power to influence doesn't come from speaking louder, but from knowing when to be silent, because in the art of seduction, just like in politics, silence is the most powerful command there is. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. And if you're subscribed to the channel, we have a bonus in the first pinned comment. The man who understands Machiavelli knows that seduction is an extension of politics. And all politics is guided by reality, not ideals. The first rule is simple but brutal. Being always available destroys respect and desire. When you offer yourself too much, you transmit a silent message of neediness, and the human brain, driven by primitive instincts, associates this with a lack of value. That's why no one values what is free. The intelligent strategist cultivates emotional scarcity, not as a game, but as a natural reflex of someone who has a life of their own. They are occupied with their purposes, friends, plans, and silences. They are the man who moves calmly, and precisely for that reason, they are remembered. The politics of seduction, like that of a Machiavellian prince, demands calculated distance. The end justifies the means when the means is to preserve one's own value. While many crave attention, the man who understands the calculated use of emotional power remains centered. He understands that magnetism is born from contrast. The louder the world shouts, the more power he has who speaks little and lives much. It's the same principle as virtù and fortuna, inner mastery and precise timing. When you are always available, you convey that your attention is commonplace. When you appear at rare and significant moments, you create scarcity. A simple example. Responding to a message immediately may satisfy the other person for seconds, but making them wait a little activates desire. This is not manipulation, it's emotional strategy. Just as a general doesn't reveal all his cards before battle, the wise man doesn't give away his time indiscriminately, and there's something even deeper about it. Positioning yourself as a prize isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. True power comes from emotional self-sufficiency, not needing to be chosen to feel valuable. It's this posture that sparks curiosity and desire. When you live according to your principles and don't seek approval, people naturally want to understand what motivates you. Machiavelli would say, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And in Seduction, this translates into a firm and emotionally unwavering presence. The prize doesn't beg to be noticed. It is noticed because it is rare, and it is precisely in this majestic silence that the fertile ground for the next psychological weapon begins to grow. The power of calculated silence. The man who masters silence understands what Machiavelli meant when he said that politics should be guided by reality, not ideals. And the reality is simple. Those who talk too much relinquish power. Silence is the territory where mystery grows and curiosity flourishes. It creates tension, that feeling of, what is he thinking? And this is one of the most sophisticated forms of influence. When you respond too quickly, you eliminate the space for imagination. And imagination is the cradle of desire. The Machiavellian strategist doesn't remain silent out of fear, but out of calculation. He understands that just as in war, the pause is part of the strategy. It is silence that transforms a simple gesture into something symbolic. The end justifies the means, and here the means is the pause that makes the other person think. Responding urgently is the same as saying, "You are my priority, even if you don't deserve it." It's offering your time as if it were a product on sale. Machiavelli would teach, avoid being hated, but also don't become predictable. Well-used silence isn't absence, it's selective presence. It shows that your life goes on, that you're not standing still, waiting for someone. And when someone realizes this, a psychological reversal occurs. The other person starts chasing after you. A practical example, after a memorable date, don't text the next day. Wait 2 days. Let silence do the work that words couldn't. While she wonders if you're still interested, her brain creates stories. And whoever masters the invisible narrative masters the game. Silence is a form of virtù, mastery over oneself and over one's own impulse to react. The weak man needs to fill the void with messages, explanations, proofs of affection. The strong man lets the void work in his favor. It is politics guided by reality. The human mind is drawn to enigma, and mystery is more powerful than any praise. In Seduction, silence is the mirror of inner strength and the loudest sound of respect. But for this strength not to become cold or tyrannical, it is necessary to understand what sustains it, the sense of deserving. And that is precisely what leads us to the next tactic of power. A man who knows himself doesn't beg for respect. He commands it naturally, with the serenity of someone who understands politics guided by reality, not ideals. Machiavelli said that a ruler should avoid being hated, but never despised. And the same applies to seduction. The man who tolerates crumbs loses the respect of everyone, including his own. When you accept less than you deserve, you communicate to the world that your value is negotiable. And once that happens, desire evaporates. The human mind is not attracted to what is easily dominated, but to what imposes clear limits. The end justifies the means, and the means here is emotional discipline. Saying no is an act of power, and each no you uphold strengthens your inner territory. Respect and desire go hand in hand. A man who bends to everything may seem kind, but deep down he inspires pity. But the one who stands firm, even when it causes discomfort, inspires admiration. That is virtù, self-mastery amidst the temptations to yield. And the curious thing is that when you set boundaries, people tend to respect you more. It's human nature in action. We value what we cannot manipulate. Therefore, when someone cancels on you without reason, don't respond with justifications or insistence. Simply say that you understand, but that your time is too valuable to be wasted. It's a calculated use of force, silent but perceptible. You don't need to shout to be heard. Just act firmly. This stance changes everything. A woman, like any human being, senses when she's in the presence of someone who respects himself, and this energy is irresistible. Real attraction is born when there is emotional structure. A man who knows himself attracts. He doesn't beg. He commands presence. He doesn't plead for attention. He understands that accepting less than he deserves is the same as betraying his own inner royalty. And when a man betrays himself, his entire emotional empire begins to crumble. That's why Machiavelli warned, power lies not in being loved, but in being respected. But there is an even more refined art, that of using jealousy as a strategic tool. And it is on this dangerous border between emotion and control that the next tactic begins. Machiavelli would say that jealousy is one of the most delicate weapons of power, dangerous if used without control, but devastatingly effective when wielded with virtù. Politics guided by reality teaches us that human beings are driven by instincts of possession and competition, especially when the value at stake is scarce. Jealousy, when well applied, activates this dormant instinct and makes the other person realize, emotionally, that you are a prize in dispute. The end justifies the means when the means is to awaken lost attention. This is not about causing pain or manipulating emotions, but about remembering the value of your presence. The human mind cannot bear to lose what it believed it possessed, and it is at this point that tension transforms into desire. The man who masters this art understands the calculated use of emotional force. He never displays himself vulgarly, but elegantly plants small seeds of doubt. A light comment about going out with friends, a subtle photo with someone interesting, or even a simple change of posture already sets off the alert. The important thing is that the action seems natural, not theatrical. Machiavelli said that appearances matter more than intentions, and in the field of seduction, this is the purest truth. It is not necessary to lie, only to show that your life continues, and well. This activates an ancestral fear in the other person, the fear of being replaced. And this fear, when controlled, generates fascination. It is emotional politics in its purest form. But beware. Those who use jealousy unwisely end up destroying the trust that sustains the game. Virtue lies precisely in knowing how far to go. The goal is not to hurt, but to rekindle. A small touch of uncertainty can reignite a dormant connection. An excess, however, transforms power into poison. The strategist knows that seduction, like governance, is sustained by the balance between love and fear. Awaken curiosity, not insecurity. Provoke competition, not resentment. The Machiavellian politics applied to attraction shows that real control comes from mastering one's own impulse, not that of the other. And whoever masters themselves begins to master the invisible game of validation, the next emotional battlefield. Machiavelli taught that governing is about understanding human nature. and this applies to kingdoms as well as relationships. Politics guided by reality shows that people seek not only love, but also recognition. However, when this recognition is given in excess, it loses power. The man who praises too much, who validates every action, soon becomes predictable, and predictability kills desire. He who gives himself entirely loses control, a strategist would say. Validation is like gold. The rarer it is, the more valuable it is. The end justifies the means when the means reinforce one's own value. And here, the secret lies in being selective. It's not about coldness, but about strategy. Mystery is born from the space between doubt and certainty. Selective validation is about using the same principle as virtù and fortuna, internal control and perfect timing. Imagine you are facing a woman accustomed to receiving compliments. Everyone says she is beautiful, intelligent, charming, and you? Instead of repeating the chorus, you do something different. You observe in silence, and when you speak, you don't compliment the obvious. You compliment what few notice. I like how you pay attention when someone speaks. This phrase is worth more than 20, "You are beautiful." It's emotional politics. You differentiate yourself, mark your territory, create contrast. Selective attention awakens curiosity, and curiosity is the first step towards fascination. Remember, the human mind is attracted to challenge, not certainty. Excessive validation is a form of disguised submission. The Machiavellian strategist validates with purpose. When the other person does something admirable, acknowledge it sincerely, but never too often. This creates the feeling that your approval is rare and therefore precious. Machiavelli would say that it is better to be feared than loved when love leads to disrespect. In the game of attraction, being respected is the same as being desired. The politics of seduction demands emotional intelligence, and validating in moderation is one of the most refined forms of control. But there is an even deeper power, one that is not seen but felt, mystery. And it is this that transforms simple encounters into unforgettable experiences. Machiavelli knew that the most feared power is the one that is not fully understood. Politics guided by reality teaches that mystery is the fuel of influence. People fall in love not with what they know, but with what they try to decipher. When you reveal everything about yourself, you kill curiosity, and without curiosity, there is no desire. The man who reveals everything loses control. It's simple, but profound. Mystery is the art of offering crumbs of truth and leaving the rest shrouded in shadows. This awakens in the mind of others the impulse to want to discover more. And as Machiavelli would say, the end justifies the means when the means is to create fascination. Being mysterious is not about hiding. It's about knowing how much you show yourself. The strategist understands that mystery is a form of virtù, mastery over the impulse to explain oneself. Most people try to be understood all the time. They want approval, they want the other to understand them. The man who lives by Machiavellian politics knows that to be completely understood is to be completely disarmed. He intentionally reveals parts of himself, creates contrasts, mixes depth with lightness, laughter with silences. When the woman thinks she understands him, he changes the rhythm, changes his gaze, changes the game. This is not falsehood, it is constant adaptability, the skill that Machiavelli considered essential for any prince. Mystery, after all, is the territory where power rests. Maintaining mystery is also a form of freedom. When no one can predict your next moves, you control the narrative. The human mind fears the unknown, but at the same time is drawn to it. It is this paradox that creates magnetism. You don't need to reinvent yourself at every encounter. Just avoid being obvious, speak less, observe more. Don't reveal all your plans, only the results. Let them imagine what you do when you're not around. This is emotional politics in action. The less you explain yourself, the more power your silence carries. The man who masters mystery not only conquers, he becomes unforgettable. And it is at this point that seduction transcends the game and transforms into art. An art that, like all real power, is invisible. Ultimately, seduction is merely a reflection of the great human politics, a politics guided by reality, not ideals. Machiavelli never wrote about love, but he accurately described the laws that govern it. Desire, respect, curiosity, fear of loss, all of this is emotional politics disguised as romance. The man who understands this ceases to act as a subject and begins to behave as a strategist. He does not seek control over the other, but over himself. The end justifies the means, takes on a new meaning. The end is self-mastery, and the means are the tactics that preserve his energy and inner power. Being feared or loved ceases to be the dilemma. The true objective becomes impossible to ignore. Each rule, from scarcity to mystery, is a tool for governing the invisible field of emotions. The man who masters virtue, inner strength, and understands the game of fortune, circumstances, learns to transform every interaction into a dance between power and desire. He knows when to show himself and when to retreat, when to speak, and when to let silence do the work. This is the essence of Machiavellian seduction, using real human nature as a map, not as an obstacle. After all, like a prince at war, he who understands human impulses governs not only hearts, but situations. And the most fascinating thing is that when you master this invisible game, respect and desire become inevitable consequences. But the most interesting part comes now, because understanding power is one thing. Knowing how to use it is something completely different. Theory is the training ground, practice is the battlefield, and from here, the game changes. The next tactics aren't about the other person, but about you, about how to become unforgettable, strategic, and emotionally sovereign. Because, as Machiavelli said, fortune favors the bold, and in the art of seduction, boldness is knowing how to command emotions with subtlety. In the end, the question remains, do you want to continue playing someone else's game or learn to create your own emotional empire? Everything you've learned here isn't about manipulation. It's about seeing the naked reality of human nature. Machiavelli said that the man who ignores what he is in the name of what he ought to be destroys himself. Seduction works the same way. Those who act based on illusions lose the game before it even begins. Politics, guided by reality, demands emotional courage, discipline, and self-control. Every tactic you've heard, silence, scarcity, mystery, selective validation, is a tool of psychological power. And true power isn't about controlling others, but about inspiring reactions without forcing anything. It's the difference between the amateur and the strategist, between the servant and the prince. But now comes the part that separates the curious from the transformed. Knowledge only has value when it is put into practice. Observe your behavior. Notice when you give too much of yourself, when you react without thinking, when you need the approval that should come from yourself. Apply the rules with virtue, with mastery and purpose. Avoid being hated, but never accept being ignored. Remember that, in the emotional realm, the predictable man is defeated before the first move. Mystery, silence, and calculated presence create a magnetism that no praise can replace. And as in any empire, the balance between love and fear is what sustains the throne. Now I ask you, do you want to continue playing other people's games, begging for attention, or would you rather learn to govern your own emotional empire? The choice is yours, but the power lies in the movement. If this content opened your eyes, like, comment, and share what impacted you the most. I want to know, which of these tactics will you apply first? And if you want to continue learning how to transform your mind into a fortress and your emotions into strategy, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because the next video might be just what teaches you how to master the invisible game before the game masters you.